Okay, this one's a little bit different because if you look at it, you can actually see a couple of shapes. You can see that in fact you do have a rectangular prism. You've got this shape, which is a rectangular prism, but it's just got something cut out of it. So if we're doing this, this is called a composite shape in a way. It's made up of a couple of different shapes. So to do this particular one, we just find the volume of that rectangular prism, and then we take away the volume of that cylinder. If you notice, that's a cylinder, it's a half cylinder really. So to calculate the volume, we're just going to do volume of rectangular prism, and then we're going to take away from that. So we're going to take away the volume of the half cylinder. So that's going to be the formula for the rectangular prism, length times width times height. Take away half of the formula for the volume of a cylinder. Volume of the cylinder is pi r squared h. Half of that is going to be half of pi r squared h. So we're going to get that. Now we can just put in our values that we've got there. So our length is 25, and our width is 6, or our height is really 6, and our width is 10. It doesn't really matter for a rectangular prism what order you put it in. You can put it in whichever order you like, because multiplication, it doesn't matter what order you write it in. Then we're going to take away half times pi times, now r squared. So imagine this little cylinder on the inside. What is the radius of that cylinder? Well, that's that distance across here, or that distance in there. And we don't actually know what that is, do we? So how are we going to calculate that? Well, we know the radius. We know the width of that whole thing. It's 10, okay? And we know the sides, the bits on the side, this bit, and over here, this bit, are 1 each, okay? If I maybe highlight that a bit closer. So this bit in here and that bit in there are both 1. So our radius is going to be 10, take 2 lots of 1, and then that's going to tell us that whole width of our cylinder. So again, remembering that we only want half of that, we're going to divide that by 2. So we're going to get 10 take 2, which is 8 over 2, which is 4. So our radius is 4, okay? So that's going to be times 4 squared. And then we need to times that by the height. Now the height again, it's a little bit trickier, but imagine standing your cylinder upwards. If you stood your cylinder up, then your height would be this length along here, which is 25 centimeters. So we're going to times by 25, and that will give us our answer, which is actually equal to 871.7 centimeters cubed. Quite a big volume of wood. So a final example, and this one's a good one because you could do this a couple of ways, and often that's the case in these questions. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. You can decide to break it up in several different ways. So we've got a shape which I'm going to think about as being 3 different cylinders. All right, so it's going to be this little cylinder on the top, and then this bigger one underneath, and then this smaller one again. The top and the bottom one are the same, okay? Give my cylinders, I've just broken it up into 3 separate cylinders. So I'm just going to now use the formula for the volume of the cylinder, which is V equals pi r squared h, and I'm going to add up all those different volumes. So the volume is going to equal the volume of the top plus the volume of the middle plus the volume of the bottom. Now again, we have to work out our radiuses, so I'm just going to do that for each individual bit. The radius of the top bit, the diameter is 25, that's the distance all the way across, so the radius is 25 on 2, which is 12.5. The radius of the bigger one, or the diameter of the bigger one, is 42. The radius is going to be 42 divided by 2, which is 21. And then the radius of the small one down the bottom is the same as the top one, so that's 12.5 as well. And then I've got all my heights, so I've got all the information I need now. So I'm just going to substitute all those values into the formulas. And I get the beautiful answer of that's going to equal 37875 centimeters, or it doesn't have a unit, so you don't have to worry about the units, but I'm just going to call it centimeters cubed. So what I've done there is I've just gone pi times the radius of the smaller bit squared times the height of the smaller bit plus pi times the radius of the bigger bit, which is 21 squared, times the height of that. And then I've done the bottom bit down there, which is the same as the top. So you could have done 2 times the top. It's up to you. Hope that helps. Just remember, when you've got these volume questions, break it down into the different shapes that you can see how you calculate the volume of those different shapes, and then add them all together. And then if you get one that doesn't look like a prism or a cylinder, remember it's the area of the base, or the thing that remains the same and just builds upon it. So the area of that times the height. Hope that helps.